Friends, I have a problem with Islam. I am offended by Islam. It's a thoroughly offensive cult. That does not make me Islamophobic. A phobia is an irrational fear of something, and I do not have an irrational fear of Islam. Nothing irrational about my fear of what I know will happen to my country and my people if Islam win this war. I'm not a racist. I see many people of different ethnic origins with us in the English Defence League. I'm happy that they are with us. The Union of Anti-Fascists and the Muslims, they hate the fact that the English Defence League are not only culturally diverse, but that we are becoming faiths, all colours and all ethnic backgrounds are seen past the lies that are perpetrated about the English Defence League, and they realise that we are not the racists, and that this diversity will make us stronger and help us win this war. No mistake, we are at war, and it is a war that we must fight and win in these islands. The storm clouds are gathering. The seeds for an Islamic holy war have been planted in Europe, and political correctness is the compost that has enabled it to grow. We did not start this war. This war has been thrust upon us and has been going on for generations. Only we didn't realise it until now. The Muslims have been doing this since 622 AD, 1,400 years. It's time that we got with the programme, people. Islam is calling for a holy war against all non-Muslims. It is a fact that Islam is responsible for 75% of all the world's violence. Since 9/11, there have been more than 17,000 Islamic acts of terror worldwide, leaving over 70,000 people dead and more than 100,000 seriously injured. And that does not include the thousands of people murdered and maimed by Sharia law. Our political leaders still do not know there is a war going on, or they do not want to know. It is something that scares them. Fascist, Islamophobe, racist, and Nazi. These are words that scare and paralyse our politicians into doing absolutely nothing. Be sure of one thing, my friends. Our politicians appease Islam because of fear. Why did they take all the people? Do our political masters not protect us from the scourge of Islam, but they also betray our fighting men and women in Afghanistan. They don't give our military commanders the equipment our fighting men and women need, but they constantly interfere with the military decisions, thereby tying the pound between our military commanders. Our fighting men and women give to the British government a blank cheque for their lives. The British government has cashed those cheques time and time and time again. And when the men and the women leave the armed forces, the government think that's the end of the matter. Well, it's bloody well not. We have a mental health problem amongst ex-servicemen and women due to combat stress. They see and they do things no one should have to see or do, and they all deal with it differently. If the government deny this, which they have done, then I say to them, look to the Falklands War. More veterans from that war committed suicide than died in combat. War affects people, and that is the simple truth. Our politicians politicians, most of which have never served, never been under fire, they send our young men and young women to fight in a war they themselves would not, if given the chance, fight in. If our men make mistakes when they come home because they're suffering from post-traumatic stress, our government puts them in prison. It's cheaper than helping them cope with their problems. They betray our fighting men and women, and they betray our people on a daily basis. These islands of ours, they've saved the world twice in modern times. 1914 and 18, 1939 to 45. The British people and the men and women of the former empire saved the world in those wars. The Muslim fanatics know that they must defeat the British people in these islands if they want to win in Europe. Therefore, my friends, we must win this war. And with the help of the British people and the people of the British Commonwealth, we can win this war.
And we will.
Make no mistake, this is World War III. And make no mistake, my friends, if we lose this war, some of us will cease to exist, and we will, as a nation, be extinct. We are not fighting this war for ourselves, but for our children, and the children who will never be born if we fail. I'm telling you now, failure is not an option. Our enemies have a different reality to us. We must understand that reality. Our enemy's reality must become our own. We must accept their reality, and by doing that we can defeat them. It is time that the media put aside its bias against the English Defence League, against the Christians and against the Jews. It is time to start telling the truth about Islam and about us. I have a warning. I warn the media who cry out about the freedom and independence of the press. If you do not start telling the truth, the whole truth, without the prejudice against the patriots, who are so hated by the left and the political correct brigade, then in 3 or 4 generations, if we fail, there will be no freedom of the press that you put such great store by. There will be no freedom, period. And guess what? You, the ladies and the gentlemen of the press, you by your cowardice and submission will have colluded in the destruction and death of all our freedoms. When it comes to freedom, my friends, we must tell it, we must teach it, we must live it, we must breathe it, we must be prepared to fight for it, and if that is what it takes, we must die for it. Freedom for our children and for the countless generations of our children who will never exist if we fail. Our children's future is in our hands today. I say it again to all of my friends out there. Failure is not an option.